Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today, the 27th of October. We're glad to be live on our Facebook page. Just for information, we will be recording this session together with our guests. And afterwards, of course, it will be posted like all other videos on our Facebook page, as well as on our YouTube channel, which we will leave in the comment section afterwards so you can follow us. Welcome again to our seventh event. We've of course, like all other events right now, moved online, and this is a great pleasure to broadcast in all directions possible, not only locally in Romania but abroad as well. We've chosen for today's talk a topic which of course is or will become of much more importance in the future, and we believe, we have legal hackers local chapter Timișoara right now. We believe that we must all be aware of what's about to come, or what is actually going on right now, and we might not be well aware of it. So we're going to talk about Romanian legal tech startups and opportunities within the legal tech field. And it is my great pleasure to have three wonderful guests tonight. We're having Ana Maria Drăgănuța from Avoteca.
Hey.
We're having Theodora from CEE Legal Tech.
Thanks for having me.
Great pleasure. And of course, Radu from NoLetter. Just to
Hi. Thank you for having me. Sorry for the mic on mute.
No problem. All these things are natural. So we were talking, what exactly is Legal Hackers? Just to ideas about us. What do we do before we start the actual conversation with our guests tonight? As this is a short agenda for just a brief overview, we're going to talk a bit about us. Then we're going to leave our guests the opportunity to fill in on what actually they're doing, and then we'll have a panel discussion where we will approach quite a number of subjects within the legal tech field and the startups, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. What is Legal Hackers? What are we? We're not actually hackers. It's just a term coined for what we do. We are a community, but we're spread globally, and we want to foster, to improve a creative problem-solving state of mind between the intersection of law and technology. Put it simply, we're there to bring people together, people like all of us over here, people that have, of course, a legal background, but not limited to that. That's what most people think when they hear legal hackers. Oh, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a legal advisor, why should I be there? But we have people which are academics and researchers, university professors, PhDs. We even have artists and designers that help us collaborate much better and think about how a legal process can be improved. Of course, technologists are the other side of the coin, if I can say so, and they provide valuable insight into the latest technology trends and how they impact not only the legal field but society in general. And last but not least, of course, we have, as part of this open community, we include entrepreneurs, because they're the driving force that pushes innovation and pushes basically every trend out there, from the Industrial Revolution, from the first one to the fourth one right now. And of course, we welcome anyone else who wants to join the club, and make sure you contact us. I talked in the beginning about some guests of ours, and I'm really happy to give a short introduction. Then I'll leave them to talk about a bit more about themselves. About Ana Maria, you've probably seen on her social media accounts, on Avoteca's social media accounts. She's the CEO. She's a lawyer, and she helped bring together a legal tech startup that enhances the connection between lawyers and digital businesses. She has a strong background in international private law and contracts, which of course are a very interesting field when you talk about legal tech. And she worked for a top-tier Romanian law company, and now she is a solo or independent practitioner. From 2020, she's become the ambassador in Romania of the Legal Tech Association, which is one of the largest profiles sector in Europe. And she's certified by MIT in entrepreneurship. Next, we have Theodora Stoica. She describes herself as being ahead of the curve because she's an experienced lawyer and entrepreneur as well, who of course is interested in technology, in science, and history. She's co-founded and worked on several legal tech projects and startups, including the CEE Legal Tech Blog, which is a great information resource for everyone that's interested in seeing how legal tech design and what trends are there at the moment in Central and Eastern Europe in the legal tech and law sector. Last but not least, Radu Zaharia, which is also an attorney. He has co-founded NoLetter, which is in a nutshell, but he'll tell you more about it, is a platform that uses blockchain and cloud technology to bring together all the legal actors in the judicial sector in a more safer and faster environment that enhances communication between them. So without further ado, I'm going to leave our guests to talk a bit about themselves, and then we'll move on to a much more debate-based discussion between us. Who wants to start? Who wants to break the ice tonight?
Well, okay, I will. If you presented me the first, I will.
I will stop sharing my screen. Sorry, just to.
Yeah. Okay. I will not stay very much on myself. I will just complete and maybe detail a bit what you said, because you basically comprise almost everything. I'm an attorney at law and the founder of Avoteca. I will talk shortly about it. I'm also as you said, the ELTA ambassador for Romania from this year, at which I will describe it a bit maybe later. I have as well a podcast which is called Legal Tech Podcast, in which I'm focusing more on the private, let's say, side of lawyers, and I try to bring the human part in lawyers and people from the legal field. And of course, I'm a legal tech enthusiast, because if I was not there, I wouldn't be doing this. As more trivial things, of course, I like coffee. I think us lawyers, I don't know if there's anyone that doesn't like coffee, or at least cannot live without it. And maybe something a bit more curious about me, I like to say I'm a digital nomad, or at least demi-digital nomad, which means that, let's say, a quarter of my time I'm not spending it at my home base. Now with coronavirus, it's a bit more complicated, but still I'm working from home or digitally for some time. As I was saying, I'm the founder, the main founder, let's say. Now we're a bigger team, and the CEO of Avoteca. Avoteca, basically, it's a digital platform for collaboration purposes and promotion for independent entrepreneur lawyers. What we're doing is bringing them in front of the public through technology and helping them to collaborate better. For the moment, we have this tool, which is basically a marketplace where we bring together businesses and lawyers, and soon we will have an independent community with lawyers in order to make the collaboration between independent lawyers more fruitful, because we all know that when you are alone in your work, it is harder to discuss and to collaborate and to find out news about your industry. So this is about me, and I'm happy to be here. And basically everyone that wants some information from me outside of this discussion can contact me on LinkedIn and come on Avoteca.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for your introduction. I really like the fact that you use the phrase marketplace, and this is very important because we will talk about exchange demand and supply within legal services, and I think you'll have a point to say there. Thank you.
Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay, so basically, Lawrence, you kind of covered up everything about me as a person. So just like Anna did, I will focus on the project more, because we are talking about legal tech startups here, and it's only natural that we touch upon what the legal tech startup does in Romania and what are the pitfalls and what mistakes does it do in order to eventually succeed. And I think we all made some mistakes at one point in our startup life. Basically, I'm the co-founder along with two other people actually of CEE Legal Tech Blog. Just like you said, its intention is to be information source, go-to source for legal tech information about and for Central and Eastern Europe. And the idea was born, I think it was 1.5 or almost 1.5 years ago, with Serious Law summer program in legal technology innovation in 2019, when I met one of my other co-founder, which is Karolina. She's from Poland, and this is how our idea of a united CEE front was created. And basically what we wanted to show to people is that the legal tech marketplace, because we're talking about marketplace, that in Europe does not end in Germany, because for many people, including the British people, I mean US and British, I'm referring to those two areas because they are the main innovation hubs in legal tech nowadays. For them, Europe ends up with Germany. And what goes beyond is just some obscure area, geographical area, which probably some of them remember as ex-communist countries, which we are, but we are striving to move closer to the West. And basically that is what our intention. We want to show how legal tech entrepreneurs, how legal tech innovators come together, brainstorm, use design thinking, and create fruitful ideas. And also what we want to do is to educate people, because on one hand you have the innovators that are really ahead of their time, they're thinking through, they're thinking forward, but also we have those people who do not know about what technology can do for the legal industry. And that was our second leg in the discussion. And that is what we were doing now with the Future Proof Legal series, which you can find on our blog. Basically, we are discussing roles and jobs that lawyers have to put on their radar for them to be lawyers of the 21st century. So we are talking about what is a legal technologist, what is a legal engineer, what is a legal hybrid. That is a thing, yeah. And some interesting skills like design thinking, like critical thinking, collaboration, self-awareness, and so more. So if you are interested, please go on the blog and check that out. We're also trying to corroborate some events that are taking place in the CEE area, and also because of the much spoken of pandemic, it was a surge of online courts in this area, including in this area. And we try to monitor what is happening, and we wrote some materials on the online courts in Romania and in Poland. So basically, we're trying to move the industry forward and to show people outside this area that we are here, we are alive, we are striving, and we are charging all our engines to move forward. And the blog will have some other projects as well, but stay tuned. We'll find out more in the future. And in parallel, I'm also working on some other projects, but again, stay tuned and you'll find out. And it's also it's a great pleasure to be among you people.
Thanks, Theodora. It was interesting because you also used another term which I consider interesting, to say the least. You talked about hybrid lawyers. So we don't have only hybrid cars. We have hybrid lawyers, and this I think goes hand in hand with all the skills that are required in not only the 21st century, because we're already 2 decades ahead, but what future skills will be needed not only from lawyers but from professionals in all service industries regarding this. Thank you, and we'll touch upon that a bit later. I'm gonna give the floor now to Radu.
Hello. So I unmuted my microphone with quite a bit of time I had, just to make sure I don't commit the same mistake twice. Hello again. Laurențiu, thank you so much for your introduction. You basically covered all the details about me, and if not, the only thing that I don't have in common with Anna and Theo, I think, is my love for coffee, because I don't drink any coffee, but otherwise podcasting all the way, technology all the way, of course. So if I was to talk about NoLetter, I would have to start with saying that the company was founded on the belief that the justice system needs to find new ways and better ways to communicate. So basically, NoLetter is a platform that allows for more efficient, faster, and more secure communication of legal documents. And we do this not only among lawyers and their clients, but also towards the courts and the other institutions that our clients communicate with. So how we do this is using state-of-the-art technologies like clouds, so that our users can access their documents from wherever they are. And as you mentioned, blockchain technology to make sure that their information is not tampered with, is just the way that they put it on our platform. And we provide all the other features and gadgets that you would come to expect from a platform like ours, which would be syncing all of your court appearances, and even providing a custom-made chat that is tailor designed for our clients, for the needs of the people in the justice system. And of course, we top it all off with a beautiful and intuitive design, and in the spirit of legal hackers, if I must say, a few Easter eggs hidden along the way. Now, a great thing that you mentioned, Laurențiu, in the beginning was stakeholders. As I said, there are a few other people except lawyers that are involved in the justice making process. Of course, we're talking about judges and we're talking about the court system. So therefore, we, from the beginning, thought of a way in which we could make our product useful, not only for our main clients, which are of course the lawyers, but also for the authorities, for the courts in first instance. So we are now beginning to find partnerships and ways in which the documents that our users send towards the courts could be more easily managed by the court clerks, And in this way, we're starting to rid them of a lot of work and heavy lifting that would otherwise need to be done by a human. So we're basically automating and providing, as I said, more efficient ways to communicate documents.
Okay, Radu, thank you. That was a great summary of what you are doing, and I'm sure that behind the product itself, the service you're delivering actually can be of great benefit in speeding up the process, because we all know very well, lawyers and non-lawyers, how much it takes for a court case, even one of the most easy ones, to get a final judgment and be, restore justice. That was the problem in the beginning. I would thank you all again for your presentations. I'd be curious of one thing. So how could we, or let's face it, lawyers or legal professionals in general are perhaps the most risk-adverse category out there. And it is often said that adopting technology or technological adoption by legal professionals has been seen with, I wouldn't call it bad eyes, but with a pinch of salt there, Let's see how it is not to affect us too much. What is your take on this? Do you think that in a way, law in general is somehow lagging behind with other industries, with business in general? However you want to answer.
Sorry, can I give it a go?
Sure.
Can I give it a go? So
yes.
My take on it would be the following. I think the legal system is rigid by design. So the idea would be that entrepreneurs like ourselves and people that want to move things forward, this comes with risks. And the justice system is molded in such a way that it is adverse to such, it sees with highly suspect eyes changes in innovation. Because even if you are well-intentioned, you could cause a disruption in the system. It is true, the system doesn't work as well. The system can be, or as far as we can tell, the system can work in more efficient ways. But we must tread carefully when it comes to such changes. That is why both users and the end receivers of said documents, let's say in our case, the courts, are very much risk adverse. They need to be shown in very clear terms, and this is where we come into play, where it is our job to educate and explain, and even with conferences like this one, to show to the world that, to explain to the world what it is that we are doing and what it is that we are trying to achieve. Because it is not a fault, it is a design, in my opinion, of the legal system to be so rigid and adverse to change.
So in a nutshell, it's perpetuating a model which hasn't worked for ages, and it hasn't stopped in that way to think about, is this really the way we should be going forward? And I'm curious, what is Anna's view on this? Because her platform, or Avoteca as a platform, brings together, people, usual businesses, people that need a legal service, which is mostly provided by lawyers. So how do they see the interaction with the justice system and legal business in general?
You mean lawyers or the businesses?
So from both views, because we somehow tend to think that, okay, we know everything that's going on this side of the table of the legal professionals, but how about the other way around?
Yeah, I actually wanted to also complete a bit what Radu was saying, which is totally true, and I totally go with his idea. the legal system is a very old domain, right? It's developed a long time ago. And if we even check if we check the civil law system, it's so rigid because it was developed by rules. So basically, if it's not written, it doesn't exist, or at least this is what it was a long time. Even now, it has to be written in the law that it exists if it's not written. So basically, it has to be written somewhere in order to be legally existing. And this is where we see actually the trend in common law countries like UK or Canada, the Commonwealth of Canada, or US. This type of legal tech solutions develop much faster and only after it came in Europe. And in Romania, it's even, let's say, old, and it came even later, because we always tend as a system to look on what the others were doing and only after implementing. And from the lawyer's point of view, I think at a certain moment, this can be looking very frightening, because the system on itself taught them that if it's not written, you don't know what to do. So you're put in the position of not knowing where to go. You're like, okay, it's this new solution, it helps me, but I have no law saying that I can use it. And it's really confusing for them now to be into this type of solutions. But we see on the other side, as you are saying, businesses need this type of new solutions, because law it's a domain a bit confusing on the other hand for people that are not linked to law. So it's very difficult a person that doesn't have legal studies to know what to do in very, very easy for us, let's say, task. So they need lawyers. They need people to help them, to guide them, to collaborate with them in their business on the legal side. And this is where I like to come with that. If we saw more the lawyer as a partner in our life and our job, we would be able to, let's say, have this collaboration more easygoing, and to let's say, admit the need of lawyers. Because in Romania still, the image of a lawyer is, oh, it's a guy that does some papers and after we don't care about him. But actually in the West and other more developed countries, you can see that the relationship with the lawyer, it's a long-term relationship, because businesses need that. And in Romania, we saw more and more that this type of relationship comes and develops. And this is where this type of solutions like NoLetter or Avoteca are needed, because people need more and more lawyers, and lawyers need more and more technology.
If I may interject.
Yes, please.
Just actually building up on what Radu and Anna said earlier, and Anna made a very good observation that in common law countries, actually they are more advanced than the civil law countries, and which is true. And I was, as it happens, I was attending a conference a few weeks ago. It's called Legal Geek, and it's very, it's like a, it's very effervescent in terms of innovation and forward thinking. And I was talking to the co-founder of a legal startup in Sweden, and I was having the exact same conversation. How it comes that in UK or in the US, things are moving forward and they are more advanced than here in the main part of Europe. And I was also thinking that probably because they have interconnection, maybe because they collaborate a lot. And what she pointed out, and we ended up agreeing on that, is that in countries where legal professionals have monopoly over the legal services, the tendency to change the status quo is limited. Is actually, let's say, weighted down by how comfortable the legal professionals feel in their well-cushioned chairs. On the other hand, in countries where the competition arose from other, what we call alternative legal service providers. Such is the case in the UK, where actually it was, a bill was passed recently that allowed legal services to be provided by companies, that legal tech companies, that they do not have this prerequisite as we have for a lawyer to be the main source of a legal service. In these cases, the legal tech startups are pushing forward, and they are in full throttle because they do not have this legislative backlog that pushes them down. And this is one very important aspect now that we were talking about the challenges a legal tech startup must face here in Romania. It's basically turns out to be the mindset of both the legislator, of the bar association or law societies, whatever you want to call them, of the law firms, because they are, like you said, Laurențiu, they are very, very reluctant to embrace new solutions, and also of the customers, of the end consumers, because they are accustomed to go to a lawyer for every problem they have. They are actually, the end consumers are the most flexible in terms of adopting new solutions, because they have an app that allows their food to be delivered at home. They have an app that allows their taxi to arrive, actually an Uber, another car share riding to arrive at their home. And they know that apps can help their day-to-day lives, and they are more willing to embrace them. But on the other hand, those three other stakeholders, like Radu mentioned, they are the ones that they are very territorial with the legal services. And we ended up, just like Anna said, we ended up creating silos, that silo effect, when everyone is in their bubble and they're doing their stuff regardless of what the market says. I think this is the point we are now, and it would seem in Romania, and actually in other parts of the world it has already happened, but in Romania the bubble has started to crumble, and now we are seeing more and more initiatives, which is good. But they and we are well aware that there are still some hurdles we have to face along the way, and one is how legislation sees legal services, and also the tendency of law societies and bar association to limit the intrusion of any alternative legal service provider, which, as it happens, it's actually detrimental to the end consumers. I don't know how, probably that's also the case of you guys, but I went to law school because I wanted to help people, and as it happens, I'm not helping them because we are so rigid that at the end. It's very interesting. In Romania, and not only in Romania, in the whole world, there are more people that have internet access than there are the people that have access to justice, which says a lot about the society nowadays. We are no longer human-centric, we are corporate, I would say, centric, which is bad, which is sad, because in the end, the layman, the natural person, the end consumer should be the one that is to benefit from everything that happens in the legal services, and not the legal professionals, and least the bar associations.
Very interesting concepts you brought, Theodora, and I really thank you for that, because you touched upon a subject which I personally and other colleagues of mine cherish very much, and this is access to justice. And you pointed out very well the fact that the change or the view should not be from this side of the table, but from the end consumer in our case, which is what we like to call in Romanian the justiciabil, the one who the natural person. And I was curious, one thing. So we have nowadays, you also pointed out, internet. I mean, people more people have access to the internet nowadays than they have to the justice system, all across the globe, not only Romania or this part of Europe. And it's curious because it should be made much more easy, much more approachable to have basic access to justice. But the regions on this planet that cannot so easily get in touch with a legal professional. And this is, for example, a gap that has been filled by the likes of Avoteca, for example. And going a bit back to customers, businesses, to what extent is a solo practitioner in Romania, for example, an actual business or not? And why is the mentality, why is the legislation, not only the mentality in Romania, still focus on punishing, even considering a crime, for somebody else outside the profession to be practicing law? One of the legal, and I'm going to go back to my question, one of the legal frontrunners, if I can say so, Mark Cohen, just said a couple of very recently in an article in Forbes that he questioned why is the legal industry so out of sync with its own customers, for whom customer centricity is an essential imperative. And he said the answer is very simple: lawyers. It's funny because he somehow mentioned that law is struggling to keep pace with the speed of business, and as well satisfy clients. And with this view in mind, how is the situation, if I can say so, at a European or more specific, a Central European level from this point of view? Do different actors, I mean, compared to what's going on in Romania right now and the whole legal industry, are there any significant differences between the countries, or do you think we're more or less in the same situation?
Can I take on the question and then?
Sure.
Yeah, we do have I wouldn't say atomization, but clearly polarization in the CEE area. We have the Baltics, and they are, I wouldn't say light year ahead, but they are quite advanced. And not to forget that Estonia is actually the most digitalized state in the EU, which says a lot. It has competitors such as Germany or Nordic countries, and they are more advanced because clearly they're a smaller state, probably the size of one of Romanian counties, but also because they understood probably right after the dot-com bubble that things are moving towards digitalization, and that's why the actual generation and the generation before them are now accustomed to what it means to have an app for everything. In Romania and probably Bulgaria, I would say a little bit probably, and also Hungary, they are trying to keep up with the pace, but the mentality is what pushes them back. And also the Central Europe, which is actually the western part of the CEE area, which seems to be moving ahead. But this is at the CEE level. At European level, things are moving clearly forward, and there are many initiatives, but not only on legal tech per se, but also on reskilling the legal professionals, because that's a very important aspect as well. Yes, you may have technology, but first of all, you have to know how to use it. And second of all, you have to have the necessary mindset for that. You have to be open-minded, you have to acknowledge, and by you, I don't mean only the lawyer, but I also mean the decision makers in a law firm, because I was a lawyer in big law companies, big law firms, actually, they're not companies, there's a difference between them. I'm in big law firms for 5 years, and I know when you are snowed under documents and the workload it's excruciating. You don't have time to learn another technology that would help you manage your workload and your documents. But if the decision makers in law firms would accept and would acknowledge that for the company to work better, the employees, the lawyers, must be happy, and not also happy, but must be more efficient, then things would move forward. And there are many initiatives, like I said, about on reskilling, on helping lawyers to acquire new sets of abilities. You could see that in Italy and Spain, Germany, clearly France, UK and US. Like I said, it's a new example. But things are not limited only to the US, Europe. Let's say cool guys at school table. You could see initiatives that are really admirable in Asia. For example, in Singapore. And I was recently stumbling across a document that described how the Ministry of Law in Singapore not only that encourages actually and actively encourages law firms to take upon new technologies. They also want to change the legislation, just like we discussed. A change of legislation is absolutely necessary, and they also decided to actually co-found law firms to implement new technologies. So basically, they are willing to give money to the law firms if they are. It's sort of a state aid if they are willing to implement technologies, because they have understood a long time ago that efficiency is utmost necessary, and in order to manage that efficiency, manage the workload and the people, you need properly educated people. So basically, things are moving forward. And just because we were discussing about Asia, we should also note that Russia has a very powerful tech. Is a powerful tech hub. I wouldn't say necessarily about legal tech, but they are moving forward pretty fast. And we all know that Russian programmers are top of the class nowadays. And also not in the EU, but very close to our borders, it's Ukraine. They also have many initiatives boiling there, and they seem very promising. So basically, yeah. And actually, not to forget, and I'm gonna let Anna discuss further. Things are moving forward in Africa as well. I was recently watching a lady from Kenya, and she was very, very well prepared. She had her data backing up her speech, and she was demonstrating how not only the legal tech industry is moving forward, but more and more women, and it's not about feminism, but in Africa, the implication of women is very necessary because they need to be employed. More and more women are involved in the legal tech initiatives. So basically, to sum up, things are moving forward. And I would say that this pandemic, it had its drawbacks, but it demonstrated that technology could be our ally in our struggle for survival and for efficiency and, well, let's say proficiency.
Yeah, I wanted to say that it's very interesting that you mentioned about Singapore, because I remember like 2 years and a half, so Avoteca has shortly 2 years. So we thought about this idea somewhere around 2 years and a half, 3 years ago. And at that moment, so 3 years ago, let's say, when we started to search about legal tech companies and the industry and what this means, actually, there was already a Singapore Legal Tech report and even an Australian Legal Tech report on the market, writing about what it means, all the solution that they had. And we were like, okay, let's start doing something, whatever that thing means. So they are really miles ahead of us. And at that moment as well, there was this legal hub from Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken, which were working with legal tech hubs from Africa. And they have this Namati organization that actually makes solution. And it's like a legal tech hub that encourages entrepreneurs in Africa to create solutions and come with the ideas to improve people's life, and they are supported by this organization from Netherlands, which is even the state, I think, implicated. So it's really big when you go and look a bit on a global scale. And that you mentioned also about the Swedish and the Russian, there was an interesting discussion that I had with my fellow ELTA ambassadors at the pre-last event. And we were from different European countries. And of course, we were all telling our story and how hard it is, and our legal system is like this and like that. And we all concluded that actually the countries where legal tech solutions raise and grow are those ones where, as Theodora said, the law is not so restraining the legal services to lawyers. My Swedish fellow and my Russian fellow were both saying that in their system, you don't need to be this certified lawyer in order to provide legal services. You need to be a certified lawyer if you need to go to court. Yes, yes. But for legal services, I think in Russia, you can even just be a student, so graduate from law. So this is why, and we see the pattern. I don't know if it's, I think it's a long discussion to see if it's good or bad, or, there are very technical issues there. But if you check a bit globally, there is a pattern, and that pattern is that as open the system it is, more solution for people at the end of the day are going to be developed.
Yes, and one small interjection there. You are absolutely right. You do see a pattern, because what you described with not having to be a certified lawyer is actually what it happens in the UK. You can be either a solicitor or you can be a barrister, and they are totally different. And now, as I've heard, as of this year, I think the threshold for the exam for solicitor now is lower, so that many people can enter and provide legal services, because that's basically what it is. And I also mentioned Netherlands, and touching upon your question, Laurentiu, about where things are here in Europe and why is it like this in Romania. I was recently checking out the Tilburg University's website. They have an interesting LLM in legal tech, and what they also have is, believe it or not, a module of legal tech 101 or legal tech, let's say, training, and also business training for the law students, which says a lot about why they are where they are right now. They are accustomed, and they are taught from early beginnings, from their college years, that if you finish law school, you are not only faced with three options: being a prosecutor, a judge, or a lawyer. You also have many other options, and that encourages their imagination, their open-mindedness, and also encourages the system as a whole. Because, like I said at the beginning, it is the end consumer we have to have in mind whenever and whatever we are doing. And this would be a very good idea to be implemented in our law faculties as well, because unfortunately, when you graduate, you only have very limited options, and you are cut off from whatever happens on the market. You are accustomed, or you are faced with some old dogma. I would say dogma, because it is a very guilt type. Because you also mentioned Mark Cohen, and he loves this concept of guilt, of cleave. You have this guilt type of seeing the legal industry, which is absolutely not true. When you enter the labor market, when you enter the actual practice market, you have a shock, because you understand that what you have learned in 4 years during your bachelor degree, it has very little to do with what happens in practice. So that would be a good petition to also sign in if we are making a list. I want to roll on that.
Sure thing. I see that Radu wants to add something here, and I'm really curious what he wants to say.
Just one short thing, because I very much appreciate Theodora's and Anna's remarks. In talking about how we compare ourselves to our neighbors and countries around the world, I think that we find ourselves in a similar paradigm, similar to the period of time in which we adopted or implemented our internet infrastructure. In that we have now the opportunity to implement technologies, state-of-the-art technologies. Because if we were to look at our neighbors, we might end up in the trap that they are a few generations behind, lagging in the technologies that they have now, that they use as of today. So yes, they are leaps and bounds ahead of us, but still, we could very well find ourselves ahead if we are to implement what is available today. So that would be my thought with regards to how we compare ourselves with the other European countries and not only.
Thank you, Radu. And somehow related to this, when you were describing how NoLetter works, and just a couple of moments ago, you talked about new technologies and informational infrastructure. I'm really curious about NoLetter and how it uses blockchain technology to assure the integrity of information, basically. How does that work for you? How have you thought about it?
Sure. So what is amazing about blockchains is that beyond cryptocurrencies, what they really are is a revolution when it comes to trust. And as we know, trust, or as I said in previous remarks, the absence of trust is at the basis of the way we form legal relationships. So the fact that I don't trust you is why I need a contract, is why we end up in court, and so on. So how we use blockchains is as following, and this is going to get a bit technical, but I promise you it's nothing that complex. Basically, every file that one of our users uploads or uses our services to send to the court has a unique signature. We know a lot of things nowadays when it comes to electronic signatures. It works basically in the same way. We have a file and we can generate a string of characters that is unique to that file. We take that string of characters and we add it to a blockchain transaction. And it is the nature of blockchains that once a transaction goes through, it cannot be altered. That is the very basis of how blockchains work. Now, what that does is a few things. First of all, when we go back to that original document and we try to see if anything was altered, as I said, if that document was tampered with, and we regenerate the digital signature and check it with the one that we previously embedded in the blockchain transaction, if they are the same, then great, the file is all good. But if not, that means that something in your document was altered. Even a pixel is enough for that validation to not go through. So that is the basic way in which we use blockchains now. But we are starting to find even more creative ways, because as we know, the moment when you send the document and the moment when the recipient actually gets your document is vital, is crucial in our legal system. So using blockchains, we are starting to provide a way in which our users can, without a doubt, using basic mathematic certainty, prove that the document was sent from this person to that person at that exact time, and this exact. So that is basically how we use blockchain tech as of today.
Thank you. That was an explanation for sure. And listening to you, I was thinking, so we have here somebody who has a legal background that has, together with other people, of course, developed a product that brought upon the market. And it's not only enough, it's a good starting point. And as Theodora also mentioned earlier, it's a good starting point to have a legal degree. It opens many more doors, but you need some really impressive technological, let's call it, set of skills to achieve something like this. How do you see things, and not only you, of course, any of you can answer this, what actual skills should be taught in law schools? And I'm saying this because it's already a couple of years, I think 5 years, since some major companies, of course, big law companies across the world have started training their lawyers, more junior lawyers, to even code for smart contracts. How do you think this is going to evolve, and where should we begin?
Wow. So it's no wonder computers have their own language. It's 1110 For you computers out there, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So the set of skills that are needed, first of all, to start a legal tech company are quite interesting. I was very fortunate to find a partner, my co-founder, and we make quite the team. I was also quite fortunate, and this is probably why I ended up where I am, in having a bit of a, I would say, IT background. I don't know how to code. I wouldn't have been able to code. No, you need people, both lawyers that know technology and both technologists that happily find out the people that actually develop your software, the coders, the programmers, have to quite a bit of law, quite a bit of how stuff gets passed around from lawyers to lawyers, from lawyers to clients, and so on. So it might be quite challenging, and the communication between the team has to be spot on for everything to go smoothly. Now, when it comes to legal education, I couldn't agree more. You need tech being taught at law school. You need, and this goes beyond just how to write stuff in Word and Excel and all that jazz. That should be like kindergarten stuff. You need to have deeper classes taught in law school about how technology works and what could be done. As you said, great. Law firms are teaching their staff to write smart contracts. That could be a thing. So sure, I'm all for it.
Yeah, look what, it's this thing that, this saying in our legal tech world that a lawyer should know how to code. To be honest, let's face it, a lawyer shouldn't know how to code. We are lawyers, okay? We're not coders. If we know how to code, that's amazing. We are multi-skilled people. But I personally don't think that a lawyer should know how to code. And I don't think this is a mandatory skill that you need to have, even if you want to make a legal tech company. To make a legal tech company, I think the basis is collaboration. As Radu was saying, find someone to work with and that it's specialized on that. Because as much as you know how to code, to develop a software is much more than writing a small code there and changing some colors. There's some small application that you can learn how to code and do some nice flags, colorful there. But it's not about that. And also related to the previous discussion, I definitely would put, it's laughable, but I would definitely put Word training and Office training in law school, because there are lawyers that don't know how to use any office application. Like when I was in court, I was still receiving, very rarely it's true, but I was still receiving claims written by hand, which today is seriously, like the judge back then had a very, very interesting reaction, handed the claim to the lawyer and said, we are in 2014, 15, we were, please go and type it on the computer. I don't understand anything, and come back with it. I was really, it was my first years of learning. I was like, whoa, mind blowing. But yeah, I definitely think that as mandatory skills, this should definitely be. We cannot write claims and anything on paper anymore. We can discuss about signature. But for the coding, it's another discussion. After, I would definitely include in the syllabus maybe some more technological information and courses, but not make it mandatory, because, when you want to develop yourself a skill, you do it for pleasure. You don't do it because someone obliges you to learn tech skills. Yes, we should. So I think we should make maybe a difference between what is necessarily right now, like really Word, and maybe cloud. What is cloud and how can you work in cloud in order to collaborate easier, but not so much on in-depth tech skills to make them mandatory for lawyers.
Thank you both of you, because this is really good insight and how future law graduates should look like. And I'm curious. I'm also very curious to hear Theodora's opinion, because she mentioned in the beginning that we are starting to have hybrid lawyers out there, and many other legal variations of the professions. Tell us a bit about that. What are, I know, the main, a couple of professions like this? How have they developed?
Well, out of necessity, basically. And since we are going down the rabbit hole of skills and roles for the 21st century lawyer, then there's a lot to talk about. I won't go into any details, but the thing is, it all began with the necessity did not come from within the industry. It came from outside industry. It came from the clients. Because when you have a client that is Microsoft, that has cloud tools like Anna said, that uses blockchain like Radu said, and you still are working with Word, and you shy away from Excel and you use PowerPoint for every type of presentation, then you lose face in front of your clients. And what legal industry and what legal professionals did to keep up with this tendency, with this trend, was to clearly adapt some to reskill, to retrain their lawyers. And I think I know about the law firm that you said learned their lawyers how to code, which, as a parenthesis, I think is a good idea, only to the extent that allows the lawyers to know what can be technologically possible. You don't have to know everything. I mean, I was, when we were attending the Bucerius Law summer program, yeah, we did learn some Java 101 or something, but I completely and honestly forgot everything from that point on. What I did remember, however, was what I can do with that. And that's the basic concept. Because you are not required to do that. You will hire or actually collaborate with a software developer. But you have to at least have a common language, which I also encountered, this lack of common language I also encountered in many teams. When lawyers want something, the programmers say this is not possible in this era, but nonetheless. So basically, this is how it all started. Lawyers and legal industry wanted to keep up with the necessities and the requirements. And yes, there are many roles nowadays that are arising from this obscure transition, I would say. And they are from legal technologist to legal engineer to legal designer, which is actually not necessarily something tech-based, but is more so like how to, let's rethink, let's take up a white piece of paper, a pen in our hands, and let's redraw what we want to do, the entire process. So basically, that is what a legal hybrid is a person that understands it has its profession requires a certain set of skills that are mandatory. Clearly, you have to know law, because that's what we are. But you also have to know how to interact with people, because we are nonetheless in an industry where we interact with people. So you need some skill that prepare you for that, from collaboration to empathy to emotional intelligence. Very underrated skill, but nonetheless it is very important. You do need to have some critical thinking. You do need to have some media literacy, because nowadays we do not take our news from classical mass media. We take it from social media, which may be good, but it's basically wrong because of fake news and everything. So you do need some skills, and that leads to some certain type of roles and jobs that are nowadays available for the law graduates. And since you were talking about what is the secret sauce of a legal tech startup within the team, I mean, in terms of skills, if I am smart enough to know how to use this, no, I'm not, but I will just tell you. Basically, there are some charts that show how is the difference between fintech and legal tech companies. And in fintech, you have the core team. They usually have financial background because, of course, they are in fintech. They have some business background. They have some management background. Clearly, legal background is usually the third or fourth option, and usually overseen. But in legal tech startups, it is clearly important to have legal background, one of the team members to have legal background. But they also, you also need to have someone with tech acknowledgement, to tech background. And also it is vital to have a financial expert in your team, because otherwise you just have a very pretty, lovely idea. You will have the means to put it into practice, but you'd fail superbly on the market because you do not know how a company and how a business should roll on. So basically, this is one of the aspects. And another very important and not enough talked about problem are actually are the social skills. And also there were some research, there was a research made on this by the Oxford University, and they clearly showed that in 3 hubs that are well known for the effervescence of legal tech startups, namely London, New York, and San Francisco Bay Area, what made those hubs so full of legal tech life was the social interaction between the founders. I know Anna, and Anna knows Radu, and if I need something in Radu's area of expertise, Anna can introduce me to Radu. Basically, that is what makes the ball roll. And because in Bucharest, for example, you don't have so many visionaries, so many innovators here. We are still we are looking in the West, trying to gather as much information and intelligence from there possible, but we do not necessarily always let's say corroborate our ideas. We do not know our market very well, because they are not in spotlight, and even if they are, we do not know them personally. So basically, this is a very good lesson for all the people that want to engage into legal tech startup life, to basically pay attention to what happens on the market, befriend as many people as possible, and basically be very open-minded, because what you know now may be obsolete in 1 year's time. And just to end like with a joke, it was, that's a very classic question: where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, I think the pandemic taught us very well that you should never answer that question very specifically, because I don't think anyone has seen the pandemic in 2015. So basically, be able and be flexible and be able to adapt, because this is the contemporary situation. This is the status quo. We are no longer in the 1990s where everything was moving at a snail pace. We are moving very fast, and we should be able to adapt to it.
If I can jump in a bit to say 2 more words, I think what we have to take from all of this discussion, and I saw that all of us actually touched upon this skill, is the collaboration and openness, which is not, unfortunately, a first skill to see in lawyers. For some reason, the system teaches us otherwise. And we have to learn, and we have to overcome ourselves and go there, meet people and collaborate. And actually, we should support ourselves instead of, fighting each other, especially if you take a small ecosystem like Romania, where there are maybe maximum 10 legal entrepreneurs out there lost in their world. Let's come together and let's grow this ecosystem together, because there's no way we can succeed if we're going to battle each other. And for a future legal entrepreneur out there, if it's really someone that has the courage and wants to go full in, now in Romania, there's more and more, and even European level, there are more and more organizations that they can go to, contact, go for networking events in order for them to improve and grow their skill that it needs. We can take, for example, the ELTA, which is really just a collaborator, a community of legal tech enthusiasts, that this is what are they doing. They're basically bringing all European legal tech people together and growing this ecosystem through events, through roundtables. They're helping each other, they're promoting each other. It's incredible what's happening there. And everyone can be a member of legal tech. Theodora is also a member of ELTA. So it's really, really a nice place to be if you want to grow in this domain, and if you want to achieve more skills, and if you want to be in the zone, you want to be there with everyone. And if we take it's actually a global, but it happens in Romania as well. It's the Global Legal Hackathon. We have for some session, for some series of events for some years. So if you have an idea for to develop something in legal tech, and you see that there's a need in legal tech, you can easily go at Global Legal Hackathon. It usually happens somewhere at the end of the winter. And there you will find not only people from legal, but also people from business that will help you maybe develop or turn your idea around, or anyway, you know, it's some help. Compared to what it was some years ago, people have the resources to be helped. And we have, even in Romania, so there's no need now to go I don't know where. And now, to be honest, with these times, online is the new sexy, so you can actually go and take all the courses you want online without any problem.
Thank you for that. You very well pointed out, and trying to add something to what you already said, and this has to do with a friend of mine who also has a legal background, but is starting work in a company in Romania, a young company that also does machine learning. And he told me that this is in relation to the skills we want lawyers to have, they should have. He basically summed up and said that they should have 3 main categories of skills if you want it. The first one would be wielding the office weapons, so what you said with Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, and other digital collaboration tools. The second category would be pure coding chops, like Anna just said, is an admirable weapon, but perhaps an overskill for traditional lawyers or legal professionals. And the third category would be to form a data-driven mindset, which should or shall enable legal professionals to formulate and nuance their issues at hand, in terms of which, for example, a data scientist would understand and build an IT-oriented solution. And right now I'm going again to Radu and Theodora. I'm really curious for Radu, for example, what is the most, let's call it, crucial lesson you've learned while developing NoLetter, and what you wouldn't do again, or what is a mistake you learned from, and which you would, if you would develop a similar product, how would you do it differently?
Launch earlier. That would be, yeah. So that comes to mind almost instantly. I think everybody waits so long to have a perfect product, and if you just go back to the way, this is a recent article I found, the way that Twitter looked when they launched, the way that Facebook looked when they launched, and it's almost like you even compare yourself to Twitter and Facebook, but yeah, their sites looked awful. I mean, so this would be the main thing, and the main, I might as well call it a recommendation for our fellow entrepreneurs. If you have a product, if you have something that resembles an MVP, go for it. Just launch it and see how the market reacts. What other things I've learned is So if I was just to go back a bit on the point about the team, the way that teams should work together when it comes to technology, law technology companies, what I was trying to aim at was the fact that, just as Theodora said, knowing what is possible. So the fact that I can go to my programmers and tell them, look, I have this issue that I'm trying to work out how we should implement this feature, and they could say, yeah, that's a good idea, or no, that's a bad idea. And from their point of view, in seeing the way that our product is starting to develop, and they could come with a solution that maybe even I wouldn't have thought of, that would fill a need that the legal professionals would have. So that's what I was trying to explain, the fact that basically you have to have compassion for each other in your team, both you as the person in charge of developing the product and finding out new solutions for your colleagues, and your programming team that needs to have the know-it-all to understand how a law firm works, at least at the basic level. So those would be the things that I've gathered along the way, and maybe the ladies could build upon that.
Yeah, I could add a few more stuff to that. On the skill point of lawyers, I think now, especially if we talk about independent lawyers, so basically lawyers that have their own office all alone. In the beginning, I think it is very important for you as a lawyer to know a bit of marketing as well. Because if you don't know that, it doesn't work anymore with going and, I don't know, I don't even know an example, do what? Because you actually can't do anything if you think about law. And
at least not in Romania, the way
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you don't know a bit of marketing, if you don't know how to create some content, how to create articles, how to upload those articles online, it will be very difficult, or you will have to pay a lot of money. But the problem is, when you are in the beginning of your career, you don't have that money. So it is easier for you to train yourself to learn these skills. And this is very helpful and would be very helpful for a legal entrepreneur as well. And I can tell you from my own experience that in the beginning, I was doing at Avoteca the marketing part all by myself, and I learned a lot. I went to courses. Yeah, I basically reconverted myself into a marketer for a time. And this helped me a lot right now when I actually started to work with another team member, because so she is specialist in marketing and communication, but she doesn't have the legal background. And this is where I came. So, but because I knew also marketing and communication, it was very easy for me to explain her in her own words what needs to be done and how to think about. So I think this is very, very important skill, because yeah, technology and marketing today are two domains very, very, very important for any business, whatever business we're speaking about.
Just as an afterthought, I think both entrepreneurs and solo practitioners have to be a sort of Swiss knife in the way that they need to have all sorts of skills in order to be able to bring their product to the market and approach clients and manage their business and know marketing, just as you said. And all those skills come into play once your team gets even bigger and you get to collaborate with people that are specialized in all of those areas that are of interest to your company or your practice.
Yeah, and you don't need to know how to code in order to know what that code means. So it is very important to talk very openly with your team. And if you really want to learn, you basically ask. In our team, that we also have a software developer, and I don't know how to code. And the communication was pretty difficult sometimes, because I was saying, I want this. He was saying it is always not possible. And I wanted always to know a bit more, and I was asking what this code means, how it needs to be done. I don't need to code, but I really want to understand what happens there. And I want to know that the result is as I envision it, as the let's say, own developer of the product. And you have to be a curious mind to do that, because if you just give the task to someone and you're like, I don't care, do it, it's not really going to work out on long term. Because it's important in the beginning for you to know what's going on on your own yard, for after to be able to grow.
Yeah, and if I may add up just one little thought on what guys said, because they pointed out very well what you need to know as a legal tech entrepreneur. There are some additional lessons that you must learn at the beginning, and at least in my case, I learned them the hard way, and now I can, free of charge and free of effort, you can learn them from this very point. One of them is fail fast and learn faster. This is what we had. We had clearly one at the CEE Legal Blog. We had an idea and we worked on it. But the thing is, we kind of at one point cut ourselves off from the market, and we just focused on what we were doing without gathering market intel, feedback from what our readers actually wanted. And we ended up creating articles and materials that were of ungodly and inhuman length. People were just being honest with me, and they were saying, look, I'm not going to invest 1 hour of my weekend time to write your bumbling there. So basically what we had to do was just, okay, let's cut to the chase, be very specific, and be focused on what message we want to deliver. So this is a very important lesson and aspect. Do not consider that you know better than the market, because you don't. What you offer is dictated by the market, just like we talked earlier, or what the law firms now do, teaching their lawyers how to code. I cannot imagine the feedback they received from the lawyers when they had this idea was just because their clients wanted their lawyers to be more tech savvy. So knowing your market and knowing your audience is very important when you start, and could at one point could make or break you as a startup. And also surround yourself with beautiful people, and by beautiful I mean fun to have around, because you will spend a lot of time around those people. People that are willing to grow along with you, people that have different backgrounds, because this is very important. Just like Anna pointed out, it is very important to remain curious. It's good for your brain, it's good for not catching Alzheimer's later in life, but it's also good for the startup. You need to have a 360 degree view on what you are doing. And if you are having in a team, if you're having a programmer, if you're having a business specialist or financial specialist, if you have a marketing specialist, PH, HR, whatever, then you can be sure that your startup is up for success. And also, but very important, work very hard on your product, and acknowledge that your product may need hundreds of touches. The product at the beginning will be fundamentally different from what you are going to have as an end product, but you must be willing to go to this effort for your startup to deliver a very good idea. So basically, you need to be courageous. You need to be to have perseverance, and to understand that you are enrolling yourself in I wouldn't say lifetime project, but clearly full-time project for at least 3 or 4, maybe even more years. You must understand that this will be your #1 job. It is nice to have a side hustle. I tried that, but you won't succeed, because you won't be 100% for your idea. And if you won't be able to, you as a founder, if you're not able to be 100% present for your idea and put your all in that, that idea and that startup will fail beautifully.
Just as one more thought, Theodora hit on one of the reasons why I was saying launch as early as you can, because nothing will give you better feedback than a live living product. And the market is the market is the market, and the market will do what the market does. So launch the product and see what the feedback is and adapt. And the sooner you do that, the better, and the more time you will have, because you're a startup. You only have that much runway. So do it as quickly as you can. Don't launch something that you're not, I don't know, 60% proud of, but don't wait for 100% either. So yeah.
Well, this is coming straight from people that are in the middle of the story. I mean, both of you, and I'm looking on my screen at Radu and Anna, of course, are battling with, or have been battling for a couple of years already with their, I can call them products or babies. People like to impersonate their own creations. I'm really curious about one more thing. So we tend to say that we live in a, of course, much more digitalized world, and that data is the new oil, and other key phrases like this. One role that is much more in demand nowadays is for data scientists. And I remember actually reading on the blog, and I'm looking at you, Theodora, to why would something like this be needed? I mean, of course, yeah, we can get our data from all other places, but when we have vast amount of data, especially if you're a much bigger law firm or company, how would such a position be in demand or useful? And this, of course, there's a difference between some a smaller law firm with, I don't know, up to 50 or up to 40, 50 lawyers, and one that has, I know, 100, 200, and many more cases behind in their backlog. How do you see this?
Well, it is a very high demand because nowadays data is what is the new money is data, basically. We are trading in data. We are trading our personal data for a personalized news feed on Facebook, which probably you are watching this conference right now. And we are trading our personal information for a personalized search result on Google. So basically, you have to know how to interpret data. You have to know what is there to know, and you have to know what is there yet unknown. And in my article, I was making this parallel with uncharted territories, and on old maps, when something, you were reaching, for example, Greenland, or you were reaching whatever point in the West, but you had not reached the United States. You are saying that there lay monsters. Here there be monsters, in the sense that this is unknown and we should be scared of this. Now we should know to interpret the data that a law firm manages. And it's not only their internal documents. The data also means authorities' acts and bills and documents. Also means, because we are now of some time part of the EU, means EU legislation. So basically, your activity as a legal data specialist is not only limited to the backlog on the files you as a law firm manage, but it's also about not being scared that nowadays you have to embrace this type of activity. And also it also refers to the undertaking on the part of the decision makers to invest in a person and in a tool, a digital tool that help you doing this task, which is more and more important as days go by. And now that with working remotely, when you don't see your colleagues face to face every day, but you receive data and inputs from them, I would say that this climbed up the ladder very fast in terms of importance in a law firm. So basically we have, just like I said earlier, there are some very important new jobs that we have to be on the lookout for. And we have to acknowledge that for them, you have to have some legal background, but you also must have some extra legal background, being data science or being tech sciences or whatever you want. But basically it means being able to look at this from different perspectives and have a very inclusive core team.
Thanks. We're getting close to the end of our wonderful talk. I'm curious. I'm really curious about many things, as you can see. To Anna and Radu, what does the future look like for you? I'm not going back to the 5 years question, of course, but what does the future look for NoLetter and Avoteca? How do you see yourself evolving? I'm not telling you right now to divulge any trade secrets or like this, but out of interest, of course, for everyone out there.
Yeah, should I start? Okay. Well, what we are trying to do right now, and we're really at the beginning, but in the next 5 years, I'm definitely going to see Avoteca there, is to grow globally and to expand ourselves to a multinational level, and basically to bring together lawyers from different countries, business and tech lawyers from different countries, with businesses, digital businesses from all over the world in this community of Avoteca. Because we saw that more and more international and transnational problems arise in the world that we're living today. And it's very, very difficult to find the lawyer that you need when you're traveling, when you're digital nomading, when you work at a company that is in another country, or for example, if you're a freelancer and your client is overseas, and if a problem arises, go find a lawyer in US, please, and tell me if you can do it, or the other way around. So we saw that there's more and more need for that. And I think it is very important to promote value. And I think through the independent lawyers, the sole entrepreneur lawyers, there are a lot of people and lawyers, basically attorneys of law, that provide this value at a very, very competitive price. So for businesses today, and small businesses I'm referring here, and freelancer, it's very important to find that partner that brings value, but don't practice corporation fees, because a freelancer will not have 5,000 euro to pay on a contract. I'm sorry, I don't have that also money to pay, or if I had them, I wouldn't pay them. So, because I know how much value a sole lawyer can do. And we want to bring this value, to promote this value, and show basically to digital businesses that this possibility exists, and to create this global community Avoteca by bringing together these two types of actors and showing to lawyers that they can collaborate with their peers internationally, easily and without problems. And this is where I was saying in the beginning that we are planning independent community for Avoteca lawyers, in order to provide this possibility of collaboration, learning, and promotion.
Thanks, Anna. Radu, how about you? How about NoLetter?
So we're quite happy to report that our plans for the future are as uncertain as they can be. And this is because although we had some milestones, we blew them out of the water, in that we envisioned that in about a year, we were going to start to integrate with the public authorities, the courts mainly, because that's our main, the people that get the most documents from us. And instead of happening in a year, in 3 weeks after we launched, we started our first collaboration, and 2 weeks after that, we rolled out the feature that allowed for one of the courts in Romania to automatically, basically, the documents that our users send to that court to be automatically handled by their systems. And what we're focusing on now is to roll that out in as many courts, if possible, in all the courts in the country that would allow this. And more and more countries, courts have implemented what I can even say the name Curtea de Apel Galați. And if I can shout out a podcast with the president of that court in which we explain this in further detail, what they have implemented has now been implemented in many courts around the country. And from our point of view, from our part, it's just a click away from being activated for everybody. So this is our main focus now, because we want to attain as secure of a circuit as there can be, because the way that this operates today, our users basically send documents via email, which is not the most secure or elegant way to do this. And although we have a few layers of added security and added comfort, the way that we manage to basically communicate documents in the newer version, in the version that we implemented at Galați, server-to-server communication is much more secure, much more, I would say, you can count on it a lot more. So this would be our main focus, developing the product and making sure that all the features and all the things that our users demand are there. Also, we are just about to roll out the mobile version of the platform. So we're really excited and working hard to get that done. And yeah, as I was saying, we try to set goals, we break through them, and try to see what's next.
Awesome. And I think that on this note, I can fairly say that we had a fantastic conversation, and I thank you all for your valuable input. I thank everybody that's been watching us. Hopefully you've stayed with us until the end now, and if you didn't, you'll get a chance to see it, to see the recording. Make sure you tune into our next events and follow these wonderful people on social media, not on the street, just on social media. Thank you again, and see you in the future, because we're talking about this.